George Humphrey is our guest for the balance of the hour. He popped by the office last week to get some more copies of Fall of the Republic, my new documentary film that he's a big part of, one of our economists that we have in there, breaking the facts down. I think we have 3 economists in the film, and you're one of the most informative. And I said, why not just come in for most of an hour next week? And we're very honored to have him with us. He is a degreed economist, very successful businessman, former Austin City councilman, author, filmmaker. And he's been somebody fighting the New World Order longer than I have been. He's been fighting it, 18 years or so. 2 years before I got on air, 14 years ago, I'd met George at some functions and events when I was just trying to understand what was happening. So he's been certainly a mentor to me, helping me along, and we've all grown together. George, it's great to have you here.
Oh, as always, as I said last week, it's an honor to be here. And you know what? Not only is it an honor, it's fun to be here. It's fun to be at the center of the storm. It's fun to be fighting the good fight. It's fun to be making new friends. It's fun to be talking about the truth. It's fun to be working for a better world and a better America and a better family and a better self. And so thanks a lot for letting me be here.
Well, George, it's awesome having you here with us. I want to cover a lot of subjects because you're knowledgeable on them all. And, of course, you've done your own local TV show here as well and done a lot of radio, so you can speak on all these issues. First off, as an economist, can you explain to people how fractional reserve banking works in a nutshell, how more debt is created than physical assets, how this financial engineered system is the key to the globalist power because they control the issuance of currency and credit?
Well, we'll boil it down to about 1 minute. And what you need to remember is the initials OTA. OTA, out of thin air. And back in 1776, Rothschild, together with when he started the helped start the Illuminati, they realized that by creating fractional reserve banking, is that they could convince the people of the nation to put in their gold and silver and assets and give them a script or a piece of paper that said that they had it, and then they would make loans based upon this script. Now, as time went on, the reserves that were backing the deposits got smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. Now, our founding fathers were very, very hip to this, each and every one of our founding fathers. That's why they put in Article 1, Section 7 and Article 1, Section 9, that our banking system had to have gold and silver as a backing. It was to be controlled by the public, and that money was supposed to have real value and not just be a commodity. And, of course, this has been the central fight within our nation from 1776 through today. And Washington and Jefferson and Madison and Thomas Paine all talked about it. And then John Quincy Adams talked about it. Andrew Jackson talked about it, and they tried to assassinate him 5 times. Abraham Lincoln came in.
This has always been the main threat to our country.
This is the number one threat because whoever follow the money. When I first got elected on the city council, I forgot who it was, but they came into my office and he said, always follow the money. And this is in little bitty Austin politics. And so when you wanted to find out what was going on, and I got very hip to that very quick. Always follow the money because that is the way the puppet masters control us, through the money, number one. And so then through Abraham Lincoln and McKinley and Ford and then up to John F. Kennedy and now to Dr. Ron Paul, we are all talking about the discrepancy between what the Constitution says and where we're supposed to have a currency, a banking system that's controlled by the people, backed by gold and silver, a hard currency, versus what we have, which is the Federal Reserve Banking Act. And, of course, as all of you know by now, it's not federal. There's no reserves. And it's
hey, George, that's a big deal. 10 years ago, you couldn't say, as you all know. Now, in major polls, 75 to 80% know it's private, want it abolished or audited. I mean, we've had a complete flip. I mean, 10, 15 years ago, maybe 5% of people knew? Now, I mean, look, we've had huge success, thank God.
I am so glad you brought that up because 15 years ago when I talked about this, I had to speak it with a very hushed voice and show all the numbers and show everything, and people's eyes would get real wide. You're saying there's nothing behind our money system. The Federal Reserve is not a government agency. And now almost everybody knows it. The people at Starbucks, the people at Walmart, people are hip to this. And we have to thank you. We have to thank Dr. Ron Paul and the hundreds of thousands of patriots all around this country.
The real power, the real credit goes not just to the the leaders fighting this, but the people that have been person to person with the books, the films, the events. It is the people.
Exactly.
And that's the reason the establishment hasn't just killed us. 20, 30 years ago, they would kill people.
Absolutely.
For talking about this. They would kill congressmen.
What was the fellow's name?
McDonald?
Larry McDonald. He got whacked in 1981.
Well, they would kidnap congressmen and senators' kids and kill them if they spoke out. But the point is, now that the idea is out there and that ideas are bulletproof, they're having a big problem. Early on, they knew they could shut it down if they could just get the few people quiet.
Right.
But now it's too late.
Yeah. The cat's out of the bag.
Out of the bag, yeah.
Yeah. And so people are getting more aware. And being aware that money is the way of control, and that the Federal Reserve, controlled by whatever you want to call these rascals, whether you want to call them the cabal, the plutocracy, whether you want to call them the Illuminati, the power elite, these people are in separation consciousness. They're in fear, and they're manipulating and controlling. They're the pirates, and there's always been pirates. And we got to get that through our heads. The people who control our banking systems and control our government are one and the same, and they are manipulating and milking this economy for everything that they can. And they are creating, and it's not money. They're not creating, don't use the word money. They're creating debt-based currencies.
Debt obligations. Our currency is debt.
Yes. And it is absolutely the biggest mathematical scam you can get. And it's like a hockey stick. If they charge 2 or 3, if the spread is 2 or 3%, at first the difference between the loans and what is owed is very small, but incrementally. And that's one thing that the Illuminati always does, is that they've worked incrementally and that patiently. As time goes on, that debt based upon other debt continues to go up. And so now it's going up like a hockey stick, and the actual debt on the debt is getting as big as the equity itself. And remember, with fractional reserve banking, this money can never be paid back. Let's say we cut back all government spending and all taxes went to paying off the debt. It is still mathematically impossible to pay off the debt. And of course, we're not going to stop spending. We're not going to stop creating debt. As I heard Dr. Roberts just speak, and he was an incredible guest, and I really give you a lot of credit for having him on. He was saying, as we were talking about last week, this year's federal budget debt is 400% greater than the year before. That is absolute, incredible insanity. You can't get out of debt by digging the hole deeper. You can't do it.
And it's made up debt to the private banks.
Of course it is. And all this money is going...
Here's a question. We're approaching an end game here.
Yes.
What do you think the time frame? A few months ago, filming Fall of the Republic at your house, we were standing around in the kitchen drinking tea, talking about the time frames, whether it's going to be inflation or whether it's going to be depression, what's going to happen with the currency. How do you see this unfolding?
Okay, first of all, we have to learn from history. And in 1989, a very similar situation hit Japan. And they had financing vehicles that were very similar to our derivatives. And they crashed. And yet the ruling class of Japan would not flush those out of the system because they were protecting the ruling class. Now, Japan is the most productive nation per capita in the world.
Difference. They have just glistening industry, incredibly hardworking, focused people. So you give us the same recipe, but with our big welfare state and laziness, we're dead meat.
Yes. And Japan, in the period of time since 1989, their amount of monies that they have spent from their federal government trying to fix this situation has been approximately equal to what we're doing right now. And Japan, even though they're one of the world's leading exporters, they're incredibly technologically advanced. They have had 20 years of recession. The Nikkei was at 39,000. It's 9,000 right now. The real estate boom has gone down. And I go to Japan all the time. I'm going to be going there shortly. And it's an amazing place. These people work. They're educated, and they're focused on creating money. And they've been going for 20 years, and they're still in the hole because all of the money that they're producing, all their profits, is going to pay the interest on their derivatives. It's called the Japan syndrome.